Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, believes that we are very close to seeing a one-person billion-dollar company. Now, there are other videos out there that break down how this could happen, but I want to give you my view of exactly how this could be done if that person is building apps and leveraging AI to operate multiple apps under one business at the same time. Now, this is something that's going to be very, very difficult to do, but I do think there is a path to doing it. And I want to show you how I think it could happen and share that framework with you for free on this video. If you don't know me, my name is Chris, and for the last 15 years, I've been designing apps and advising startups on product and design. And with that said, let's get straight into the framework and see how a one-person billion-dollar company could exist.
Build great products. Build great products.
So I want to go through my prediction on what a $1 billion solo business could look like. And if you haven't seen it already, Greg Eisenberg did a really, really good video on this, breaking down his predictions as well. So I just want to throw a little bit extra in there to give you my perspective based on if this was a business where the primary source of revenue was coming through applications that have been built leveraging AI. So basically an app that either runs like as a web app or like on your phone, and how this could actually exist where you can, instead of managing all of the aspects of a business yourself, to actually running an entire business almost purely using AI agents. And we are kind of getting to this point where that is nearly possible. You can create a lot of complex agents to run a business. And I want to show you how I kind of break down the different parts of an app business, how you could automate all of those parts potentially using AI agents, and then how you could build multiple AI app businesses that fit in the same industry and then extrapolate that over doing it like multiple times over and over again. The first thing I want to show you here though, to kind of demonstrate that this concept is already something that people are doing, is a company from the latest Y Combinator batch. So this is a company from one of the latest Y Combinator batches called Rocketable. And basically their manifesto is that they believe that software businesses can be fully automated using AI agents. What they're trying to do here is basically acquire as many micro SaaS and like small software businesses as possible to then basically automate all of those using AI agents. Now, this is not a solo person company, but this kind of approach triggered the idea of if a software business could be automated fully with AI agents. If you think about a popular application like Slack, for example, if that application could be fully managed by AI agent, then theoretically it could be run by one person who is just managing all of those AI agents. Now, that one person wouldn't be managing all of the individual agents individually. They would need to go through a chain of command of AI agents, basically. So you can see like where we're getting into this idea of like, if an application can be built, can be automated with AI agents, how would you then control those agents and how could you do that multiple times? This is kind of what Rocketable are trying to do here. And I want to kind of break it down as to like how you could do it if you're building apps. Now, I do think that this is an incredibly long play, and this is something that's very, very difficult to do. I don't even know if this is possible using this framework and this system, but this is just my hypothesis for how this is going to happen. To start off with, there are some starting out requirements. So I think the key kind of starting requirements here is like, you need to have a growing audience. And this is basically a source of distribution. This may not be like your primary source of distribution. You could also replace this by saying like a growing audience in a domain or distribution or significant distribution channel. Now, if, for example, ChatGPT or OpenAI come out with a distribution, like a third-party distribution platform, which some people think is going to happen, basically a platform where people could build businesses and technology on top of their large language model, and then have that exist in a marketplace where ChatGPT are giving distribution out to their users of the thing that you're creating, then that could also be something that could work here for this. So this is entirely possible with technology that may be coming up very, very soon in the next few months. I also think whoever this is would need to have deep expertise in multiple domains. And for this, I mean multiple domains as in like different areas, basically. So not only like specific industry or specific industries, so multiple industries. So think about the creative industry, the farming, manufacturing, all of that sort of stuff to have basically, because the way that we're going to approach this is by building products in a vertical industry for the whole industry to solve multiple problems and then duplicating that across multiple industries, but also deep expertise in like business skills, which really translates to things like branding, marketing, sales, etc. All the kind of like traditional functions of a business. And that really kind of like falls into this like business acumen. So you've got to have deep expertise in multiple domains, and you've got to have business acumen to know how to execute this. Those skills often aren't something that you can just learn very quickly. You have to learn that through practice and trial and error and running your own businesses. I also think they need to have deep expertise in AI. So you need to really know the details of how this works, of how AI technology works. Because delivering this at scale, if you're building technology, you need to almost be like a developer level, or like you need to have that really, really in-depth knowledge of exactly how everything is working to be able to do that. There's probably other like criteria that would need to happen here as well, but these are like my initial kind of starting requirements that I imagine would need to happen. The next thing here is to think of a product business or like an app business as a system where agents can manage it. So let's break down like every part of the app that we need to build. So we need to build attention. We need to have people seeing our thing that we're creating. We need to have sales. So we need to have a way of getting that attention and turning that into people actually paying for a product. We need to have a product or service that solves a problem. And this should be like a small singular problem, like one feature, one clear differentiator, get a lot of attention, create like a viral moment in that app, and be able to drive a lot of demand for the app that solves the problem that people are facing. And this is just about solving like one clear problem in an industry really well. And so your kind of first decision point is, what industry do I want to go into? The second here is like, what are the products I can build? What are the apps that I can build for this industry to solve different problems in that industry? And then once we've done that, we've got a couple of other steps here. So we also want to start to build basically a retention model around our app that we're creating. So one of the key ways of building retention right now for AI apps and for AI products is by building context. It's really, really important. This is kind of the new moat for AI businesses. Not like distribution, but it's building context. The more context that a user has in your product, the more memory that it has about you, the more knowledge that it has about you, the more likely people are going to stay around to use it. Or you could also connect to this context. So you could build a connector to ChatGPT to allow your app to use the context that its users already have in ChatGPT. And then the last step here is we have support customers. So we need a way to keep people happy, to deal with any support requests. And so that's basically your kind of simple app system. You get attention, you sell the product, you have a product to deliver the solution, you build retention over time, and that's recurring revenue basically. So someone signs up and they continue using it over time, and then you support those customers. And we basically automate these using AI agents. We would have like multiple agents under each column here that are delivering each of these specific areas of the business. So in attention, you might have an agent that drives traffic, or like that gets traffic to your product. You might have an agent that creates social posts based on certain frameworks that you know work, that gets attention through social media accounts, or that generates videos to post on short form social platforms to get attention to your app. You have sales, so agents that we can create here are things like sales agents that would be on a call with someone and actually sell them on a product, or sales systems that would email people a certain number of times, or follow up with the right type of people, or be more aggressive or less aggressive depending on the type of person. Now, one thing that I also want to share here is that this needs to be a simple product. This has to be a simple product, right? We're not trying to build complex B2B software here, which is something that I think Greg Eisenberg covered really well in his video about this, where he's saying this can't be like complicated B2B software because it requires too much human input in sales. It's too difficult of a sell. It's high friction. We need something that's really low friction, really low effort for people to sign up, and lots of people can sign up for it and pay for over and over again, basically. And we do that. That's the approach we take for every single app that we're creating. And you then create agents for all these other part of the businesses. So I've created a rough map here. What could an agent setup look like for each of these sections of your app? So this is your app, all 5 of these steps. This is like the actual technology, the app part of it that you've built. And then the other stuff is all the business stuff that kind of surrounds that. Quick break in the episode to talk about my community for people who are building apps with AI and want to actually launch their app and get real customers. It's called the AI App Builders Academy. So if you're building an AI app with Bolt or Lovable or Cursor or any of these AI tools, and you actually want to make a profit and launch your app, then this is the community for you. Inside, you'll get access to a community of other builders, as well as my 30-day app course, helping you go from idea to app to a profitable launch in just 30 days. You'll also get access to weekly calls with live workshops and training, as well as all of my startup frameworks and resources, and 24/7 support from the community to help you answer any questions or problems you're having with building and launching your AI app. So if you're building an app with AI and you actually want to make a profit and launch your app, then head over to school.com/AI apps to find out more. I'll see you there. So the agents that we're creating here, we've got like a social post agent, a DM agent, an outreach agent, a partnerships agent for the attention. We've got like follow-ups, sales calls agents here, website optimizing agents. For the actual products, we have like a product manager agent, observability agent that keeps track of like bugs or errors that are happening. And we have a developer agent that would build like features for the app over time based on customer insight, based on feedback coming through. So you might want like an insight management agent that like collects feedback and translates insight into features to build. This also fits in this section as well. So building context and retention. Basically, you could have a product manager agent fill in here as well to figure out new functionality for your app. You could also have marketing to retarget people who have left your app at this point. And then on the support side, we also want like a customer support agent, which would be like email, chat, phone calls, basically responding to issues. This means you could theoretically automate an entire app business with AI agents. It hasn't been done yet, but it could theoretically be done. And I want to stress here, I also think one of my principles I follow and advise people to follow when building apps using AI is to do something manually and then automate it once you know how it works. So the first time you're doing this, you should do all of these things manually, do them all yourself. Once you've done that once and you've figured out a successful framework for this, then you can apply that to other products. So this is where we get onto the next step. This is our product that we've created here. This is our one app that we've created in this industry that we're starting off in. The next step here is about building into verticals, building into an industry. So this means that you can have multiple products, so multiple setups of this, basically, and then you would replicate this same setup for every single type of app that you are building. So say I build one app where it solves a specific problem and it's got all of these agents set up and it runs on a website and people are going to access that app and pay for it. We then create another product using the exact same framework, and we then cross-sell those products into each other. And we then create another product, and we cross-sell that product into each other. This is a tactic that someone has already started doing on X. This is a guy called John Rush, who you may not know of, or you may know of. Basically, he builds apps partnering with people through X, and he's built over 24 different startups doing it using this method. And a lot of them are in this same industry, and he kind of breaks this down on Twitter here. So this is 100% possible. He's not automating everything in these apps, in these startups with AI agents, but there's no reason that you couldn't build AI agents to automate all this stuff. And you've even got here, like, my end goal is to have an AI agent for CFO, COO, CTO, AI co-CEO, handles 99% of my job. I act as the chairman. This is kind of exactly what John Rush is trying to do here as well. Maybe I'm stealing his framework here a little bit, but you can see that this is 100% possible to actually do this with multiple products in the same industry. And so what we've then created basically is a product business blueprint, which creates us a product. And we can do that again and again. And we want to test new MVPs every single month. We want to abandon what doesn't work. And then we double down on the products that do work to give us this continuous growing like ecosystem of all of these products that we're building can make money and scale. So what's the next step here? Okay, so now you've got one vertical. Say you've built like 10, 20, 50 products, 50 apps within one specific vertical of an industry, solving all of these different problems in one industry. Well, then theoretically, if we take it to the next step, you could do this for a completely different vertical, for a completely different industry. And so here we're basically kind of showing that you could operate in one industry with all of these different apps, 4 different apps in this industry, make 100 million ARR. And now it's more likely that this is going to be like 20 apps here. And so you could then theoretically do that across another industry. And if you're doing 100 million ARR, say that's divided by 50 apps. So that's 2 million ARR per. You then want to do that across 10 industries. And because this seems like an insane amount to manage, we also have to have a system here to be able to manage all of these different apps across all of these different industries as we're kind of building out this $1 billion solo business system. In the future, hypothetically, the advances of technology here in the AI space, you could theoretically build an AI agent that was like a CEO for a vertical. And you could even have like a CEO agent basically within your app, overseeing like all of these different areas, all of these different agents in your app. For like this whole thing is like being controlled by a CEO agent. And you would then have like another one basically managing the entire vertical. And then you interface basically back and forth with this one agent who highlights issues and anything happening on like a daily basis. And this is kind of like your 10 to 100 million like solo business founder framework to kind of operating in one vertical with all of these different products. And now let's extrapolate that a little bit further. So let's say you did this across multiple verticals. Well, then you have all of these different CEO agents that are managing each of the separate verticals. And all of these products in here are being automated by AI agents as well. You've even got like your CEO agents for each of those individual products. And then let's take that even further. So how could you make that even go to like even bigger? And I don't even know if this is possible because this is zooming out like so far here and many things to potentially go wrong. The AI agent setup would have to be incredibly, incredibly robust to do this. And it's definitely not technically possible now. And I wonder if there ever will be a future where you could do this, but theoretically, we should be able to get there with technology. So in this instance, you're the $1 billion founder of a company. Your holding company has all of these products in across all of these different industries. And this is like a holding company, by the way. So once you start creating multiple products, it's going to be like a holding company for multiple companies and products. And you could even create like multiple holding companies for each of these verticals, basically. But then what you're having here is you've got like a board of directors agent, which is like managing all of your like related verticals with your CEO agents. And then those board of director agents are just reporting back to you on a day-to-day basis to be able to manage all of this stuff going on. And so this is my idea of a path here that could create the first $1 billion solo business. Now, obviously, there is a lot of other paths that this could actually take. This was just my kind of theory about if the $1 billion solo business is someone who creates apps. Realistically, it's difficult to create $1 billion business that just solves like 1, 2, or a handful of problems, unless you have an app that's on the level of like ChatGPT, just run by one person, which again, that could theoretically be possible. But what I see like playing out a lot more realistically is these business agent systems where you almost have like a plug and play system for a software business that can run and operate an application in a certain framework and then be managed through one AI agent and then extrapolated across multiple industries for multiple products and be managed by the same person. That's my theory anyway. So let's get into some final thoughts and how feasible this actually is, whether or not this is something you could actually do. So that was my prediction for what the first one-person billion-dollar company is actually going to look like if it exists in the application kind of like software industry. And I think this is theoretically possible. I don't think we're there yet. We can't do it. AI agents aren't sophisticated enough to be able to manage things securely and aren't as robust as they need to be to be able to operate this all effectively at scale yet, but I do see a world where this is 100% possible, or at least something similar to this is possible. And there's proof already in John Rush on X kind of doing this or something similar to this with 24 startups, 24 different apps that he's built with real paying customers and people actually kind of like paying for all of those different products. And he's managing it all nearly 100% like himself. Now, do I realistically think that this is something that you should do? I would say for 99% of people, no. I don't want to do this. I think this is for someone who has this specific goal and has really, really deep expertise and knowledge around business, multiple industries, is incredibly smart and can see the future and leverage the future of AI technology. To me, it also kind of speaks to the fact that you don't have to be the first $1 billion company. But what you can very easily be with AI is you can create an app, or you can create a handful of apps that are very successful, that can make $1 million, $5 million a year even, and just build a business that takes a small percentage of market share from some of the bigger players in different industries and solves very, very specific problems that they aren't able to solve just because they're so big and it's not worth the time to them to actually solve those smaller problems. Now, if you do want to learn more about building apps and actually making a profit with them, I have a community for exactly that, and it's called the AI App Builders Academy. And you can find out more if you go over to school.com/AI apps, and you can start building your AI app there today. We've got frameworks, we've got courses, and we've got a bunch of people building some really, really cool stuff with AI. If you liked the video, then don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Build great product. Build great product.